find some picks on the Zoe. He just couldn't have the same pressure and presence in the lane, especially when his flash got burned early. So this is the new problem that I want SuperMassive to solve if they're going to give away a power pick like the Lucian. I expect it to be banned, but we'll see, and try to give Bolulu a bit more space to keep that guy locked down so he doesn't take over a game like he did the last game.
And sometimes in best of fives, we see the infamous salty run back, but that is just not an option here, as both teams seem to be fighting over blue side, and so we'll probably never play on the same side twice in a row. This time it'll be SuperMassive on the blue side. They're keeping their bans pretty humanoid focused, to the surprise of few. Oriana and Akali both taken off the table, whereas on the opposite side for Mad Lions, they're feeling pretty good about their strategy to limit KaKAO's champion.
Yeah, and there's the adaptation right there. Formerly, when a SuperMassive were on the blue side, it was Akali, Oriana, and Twitch. This time around, it is Akali, Oriana, and the Lucian. Now, Ornn is going to be the final ban for the Mad Lions, which means the big thing that was left open was the Graves. But Shin is also available, as well as Lillia. So maybe Shadow injecting a bit of confidence back into the champion for its stage performance.
Yeah, have to see. Of course, Shadow, solid game overall when you look back at his group stage performance. Did have the steal, did have a couple of pretty good moments, but definitely not a hyper carry performance. I feel like we still have not seen the ceiling of this champion, but maybe KaKAO can show it to us. As we're going to handshake on what I will now refer to exclusively as the Bambi matchup. We've got the Hunter versus the Fawn here.
No! That's so brutal. Okay.
Bambi could get revenge. That's all I'm saying. That's what you got to keep your eyes on.
Bambi's revenge. So the thing is now taking an AP jungler like the Lillia, and especially with Lucian banned, because that was the thing. You need to diversify your damage portfolio like you would do your stocks. Yes, in League of Legends we do the same thing. Which I think puts a higher emphasis on picks like a Camille. Or even a potential Sett mid, although I wouldn't take it this early on. But things like that, like what are they going to find in the bag to make sure that they don't just have an entirely AP top side of the map? And it doesn't look like it's going to be in the mid lane.
And they might not be worried about it, Frosker. And we know EU teams, obviously, and teams internationally generally very much highly value splitting your damage profile, specifically on the top side of the map, especially for the early game, as it makes tanks much weaker when they can't itemize a single resistance.
I just think...
I mean, we could see a Sion who could just build AP here and could just be unkillable on the top side of the map. Speaking of that, would still love to see Orome more on tanks, something where he doesn't need to be ahead to have big teamfight impact.
This should mean that the Zoe could come out for Humanoid. Maybe he opts into a Galio, depending if he doesn't want to be the primary damage dealer, but I feel like he's playing for lane dominance and he really likes to play out this matchup, so that's what I expect to have happen. Ooh, we're even going harder than that.
And I think Mad Lions have recognized that mid-prio and the freedom for Shadow to invade or at least have priority access to the enemy jungle allowed him to perform much better in Game 2. So looking to secure that with something like the Syndra early on. Have to keep our eyes peeled on this mid lane match because Syndra starts to get ahead. It's very difficult for Azir to even lane.
This is actually really interesting to think about because we talked about kind of the checklist that you need for Lillia, and obviously something that can give you mid lane priority, have hard push, is going to empower this champion for how quickly she can cruise through the jungle, and Azir does exactly that. So in its isolated incident, especially if you have an AD top side of the map, that looks really good. But then when you pivot into Graves Syndra, even if you do get push priority, like now this is Mad Lions stacking all of the tools, a lot of kill pressure, if you will, to say, okay, shove my wave in, I can drop some minions, but if you do invade, like I have now all of the tools to fight you. Like, I dare you. Let's see what happens.
Have to keep our eyes on it. And of course, for the side of SuperMassive, even though we may not be a fan of the double AP between the mid and the jungle, Bolulu is, of course, an incredibly competent and comfortable Azir player, so maybe he can show off some of his mechanics, some of his individual skill this game, but definitely early game feeling favored toward Mad Lions right now. The Nautilus going to be taken away, the Ezreal to follow. Of course, anytime the Senna is locked in, we do have room to doubt as to whether or not it will be farming or not. There is room to lock in the Wukong, of course, and with Ezreal taken off the board, I think Wukong will have a much easier time diving the backline in this game. The Azir wall can make things difficult, but it won't stop necessarily the initial burst from stealth.
I'm curious what Zeitnot's going to go for. Now, obviously, his Ezreal being pulled away from him. Caitlyn has slipped through the bans. Now, naturally, she's not as popular on this patch as she was previously, but she would match some of the range. She could also go for something like a Tristana. I don't expect him to pivot towards anything like the Kalista. I expect it to be a farming lane. Maybe he even goes for the Twitch, which has just slipped through.
interesting the Malphite's been banned away. It appears that they're recognizing, hey, which champions, regardless of how much farm they have, regardless of where they are relative to their lane opponent, can always just carry a fight. And those champions are right now Orome and Malphite. Now, as we see the Wukong locked in, personally, I am hoping, for the sake of Mad Lions, that this is going into the hands of Kaiser, because for Orome, early laning has not looked to be his strong suit.
But that's the genius of it, Dracos, and you were to kind of talk your way through it. It's the fact that it is the flex pick, and it allows Orome to get the counter pick of whatever's going to be up here. Again, you need some high AD damage, which is why I think the Malphite ban is really important. There's the AD Sion that we're probably going to see come out. You called it, Dracos. But by banning away Malphite, you open up a potential hyper carry, an Aphelios, a Twitch, a Caitlyn, something that can match with the range advantage that you can have. I don't know about that one.
I actually kind of like it, because you've got scaling in the mid lane, right? You've got a tank on the top side, so you want something that's going to give you power in the early game. Power that KaKAO very much needs if he wants to push forward in this jungle matchup and invade, and Miss Fortune is certainly strong early on. Now, if you haven't seen Miss Fortune in a while, she got some nerfs, she got hit pretty heavy-handedly, but in the past, she has been a strong, aggressive early laner, a champion that can build leads, hits to strut, hits to some of her base damage, took her down a notch, but still might be something that we can expect to see here. That said, final lock-in will now be the Sett. Expecting this one, I don't know where I'm expecting this one for Oscar, and I guess we're gonna have to wait to see where it lands.
I think it's a Sett support.
Sett
Nope.
top lane.
Sett top lane. Okay, so Sett versus Sion, two melee champions that are going to be smacking each other around. So let's talk about adaptations. You talked about the Miss Fortune, that she basically could still stat check a lot of champions, that she can be an aggressive bully. We used to see Leona and Miss Fortune when she was flavor of the month, because you can kill someone within the duration of the two ultimates. The Leona CC lock long enough for the bullet time to just wreak havoc. And it also does kind of work with the bigger picture, I guess, of the team composition from SuperMassive. They all kind of run in, you know, the Azir cutting people down with the sand soldiers. He got the bullet time going across. Like, I could see the party happening. I myself am not a Miss Fortune fan, so just to the audience,
we'll keep
I'm
our
sorry.
eyes on it.
Check my bias for the Miss Fortune. I think that she can have a lot of issues when it comes to team fights, because she's a lower range champion unless she's using the double up to kind of extend that range or cheat it, especially when you're against something like a Wukong and a Senna. Senna will outrange Miss Fortune, and the Wukong being able to just completely deny her from fights. So I'm really curious how Zeitnot is going to make this pick really work for him.
Something we'll look at, but of course, resetting expectations. We came into this series not sure what level we were going to see from both of these teams after they struggled in the second half of groups, SuperMassive and Mad. SuperMassive initially expected to potentially leave the group at second seed, but lost that right as they fell to Legacy, who had a breakout performance yesterday, even though they did fall to Team Liquid. So now here we are, 1-1. One final best of 3, essentially, to decide who will move on and who will go home. And for the TCL, this is it. All their hope lies on SuperMassive. And for the LEC, well, maybe they're regaining faith in the Mad Lions after their Game 2 performance, but they probably remain skeptical. So big pressure on both sides.
This is often the most pivotal game, naturally, because this will move someone to match point. Moving to a world stage, dealing with that pressure, dealing with new situations, who can keep calm and maybe push this series the distance as we check in on the jungle pathing. It's going to be a bot side start for Lillia, as you can see her now moving across to contest for the blue buff. I'm assuming that she has priority to empower this with the Zeitnot and SnowFlower on the Miss Fortune and Leona, but here he comes, Shadow, right on time.
At this point, Wukong, of course, not a lot of immediate CC. The Leona has the luxury of that, so can't contest, but there's a red buff available for Shadow, so he's stepping forward. He's procced the phase rush. He can dip in and dip out just as well as KaKAO hand, but they're both kind of just wasting each other's time at this point. So Shadow's going to start up the Gromp, but this is going to be an interesting one, a very long contest. And you can see bot lane is also skirmishing at the same point, because they know whoever wins a short extended trade does get to invade the jungle. Shadow, KaKAO, that's actually very clever. I think trying to bait the smite out of Shadow to secure the Gromp so that he can secure something else. And in the meantime, Carzzy's been caught out. That's the early power of the Miss Fortune, and now SuperMassive are taking complete control of the bottom side. Shadow did manage to secure the Gromp, but KaKAO is getting lower and lower. No blue buff to back him up either. Shadow almost completely out of mana. They have no bot lane prio at this point, so he will have to concede this one. not the worst exchange overall, but SuperMassive taking complete control of the bottom side.
Yeah, this is a really beautiful set play from SuperMassive. We talked about it in draft, you know, what does the Azir do for you? Well, it empowers you to have the early push priority, and immediately from the start, KaKAO races off and then grabs away the blue buff, wastes so much of Shadow's time, while SnowFlower also punished the bot lane, forcing flashes and cleanse off of Carzzy. Now, what this will mean for the current map state is that SnowFlower actually moves mid to make sure that Bolulu retains the priority there, but because of Orome having Armut pushed under his tower, Shadow just sprints across map and will trade 1-for-1 on the blue buff. So he's not going to get 3 buff, but he did waste a lot of time kind of, are we going to fight this? Are we not going to fight this? What are you going to do, KaKAO? And it still feels like an overall win for Lillia.
Yeah, KaKAO very slightly ahead in terms of jungle tempo overall. We'll have to see who ends up with more camps at the end of the day, but right now, very fortunate for Shadow that his top lane had push priority so that he could come contest this blue buff, because in the past that has not been the case, but now as we see Orome finally with a counter pick of his own, Sett going to feel incredibly comfortable into this matchup.
Okay, so I do want to talk about something because Humanoid is running teleport. Oh, okay, he's going to use it into the mid lane. Because Shadow was actually on the top side of the map and a big wave could have been built up, although Sion is very good at clearing those waves, obviously with his Q and shoving the minion through. There's always the potential of the early dive whenever you have Sett because of his ability to soak up the tower with that shield, and if your mid laner has TP, it's like the most beautiful setup. But Humanoid held it for a second, decided he was teleporting back into the lane. He's now trying to get this wave pushed back towards him so it doesn't get frozen on. Shadow's actually just hanging around in the area, grabs top crab, then moving on to his raptors to cover his mid laner, while Orome and Armut are putting her on each other.
Yeah, very interesting matchup overall. Of course, Sion gated by mana will make staying in this lane for extended durations difficult, but here's the big issue, is that Sion's knockup does not stop Sett's Haymaker from going through, and Sett's Facebreaker also interrupts Sion's Q. So difficult, I think, for Sion to find really good trade opportunities in this lane, but he will continue to scale up and be a big threat here, as you can see that he does have superior wave clear with the power of that Decimating Smash. Hold that dot, however. So Armut is going to be forced to flash away the Facebreaker, the call out, and KaKAO now running in. Orome slowed. No way to interrupt the knockup here. The knockup will connect. KaKAO now coming in. Big Facebreaker coming back, but not quite enough damage over time to take down Orome.
That was big eep. KaKAO thought that he was going to get the smackdown, and then he took a ton of damage there. Now Armut and KaKAO are just trying to get this wave to crash so it doesn't get frozen on his poor little Sion who doesn't have flash. Not going to have a good time.
Yeah, it will be difficult. Shadow going to walk over and... very convenient that he's there to soak up the XP to find a jungle advantage. So Shadow now level 5 to KaKAO's level 4. We'll back off before finishing his Krugs, it looks like, and see how the early itemization goes. Something that we love to talk about, Ender brings it up all the time, is the importance of AP junglers finishing that jungle item and getting ahead early, whereas, because it is the most powerful jungle item when it comes to clear speed, whereas Shadow certainly is going to hurt a lot in those 1v1s versus champions, but the Warrior Enchant isn't going to exponentially increase his clear speed.
And it's also, I think Raz brought this up the other day, there's a really big gap between the completion of the Runic Echo and then the completion of your second item. You know, if you're playing an Evelyn, you're going for your fancy hat, you're trying to get your decap. If you're playing Lillia, you look for the Leandries. So you get kind of like this big immediate spike, and then you really have to buckle down and start pinching some pennies to save up. Whereas in that gap, Shadow just stacking long swords and looking for the gank.
Level 4. Coming out from Zeitnot pretty early on, but they are going to be able to back away. And Shadow's doing two things here that I love. He's shadowing his lanes. We got to stop making that pun. I think you just walk into it every time. But at the same time, he's also showing up for XP so consistently, which I'm not a jungler, so I hate when Ender does this. But I do love watching other junglers do it, where they just take a little bit of XP every time they show up and put themselves that much further ahead.
It does mean that he is falling behind, though, in terms of that jungle tempo that we were talking about earlier. It's only slight, but hold on. Bolulu gets the flash out of Humanoid. Yeah. Nicely done. But that does mean instances like this, where good, actually, scuttle control here from Shadow. Where Shadow could have had the crab contested away from him, but was on top of the play, forces the crab towards the bot side, and SnowFlower needs to get his reset in so he doesn't chase it down.
Big knock up there from Armut on the top side, of course, early defensive itemization. Whereas Orome has itemized for lifesteal. We'll be looking for an early Blade of the Rune King. We'll see where his build goes from there. It's going to be full tank or full split push with something like a Trinity Force or a Black Cleaver. But losing that flash in the mid lane Frostguard feels like a big deal to me. Humanoid was playing so far forward, and
there's a gank.
Now KaKAO is looking to sneak his way in there. Only level 5, maybe hoping.
Here comes the train. Yep, there it goes.
Orome pull back on the face breaker. Can dunk down though. First blood coming out. Orome gonna flash out to safety. Is gonna get finished off by KaKAO in the end, but turning that into a 1-for-1 is not a bad look, as now Shadow into the enemy jungle, but only level 5 to KaKAO's level 6.
The only really nice thing though is that you have a Sion, so Armut still got to pick up some CS on the back half, is now they're hard forcing this Azir away from it, picking up a lot of plates and I believe denying him a total wave. Ah, good guy Carzzy also picks up the tower aggro for Humanoid to walk them out safely.
Yeah, Carzzy working on a support performance, running straight to mid lane after his recall. And overall, things looking a lot closer than they did in game 1, especially where we saw the Senna Wukong lane from Mad as well. Orome seeming to be much more comfortable as the series pushes on and as Mad Lions put more priority into giving him a comfortable lane matchup.
So there's going to be a window here where Mad Lions... I actually found that really interesting. Okay, so Bolulu's blue buff is up. You can see that there's a control ward on it right now that KaKAO has just walked over. And I was curious if they were going to use this space, the Mad Lions, to actually try to secure the Ocean Dragon on the bot side of the map. But instead, Shadow doesn't reset and head towards his bot side camps. He's actually just walking towards the Herald. But I don't know, if Azir picks up the Dragon here or trades blue for blue, I'm not sure how I feel about this one. I'm gonna have to wait, watch what happens here, but it's kind of weird.
I mean, the other big question that we have to ask is where does the Herald go and who gets the gold? Because obviously you can snowball the Syndra forward and that's going to feel good, but the sooner you get Orome to Blade of the Rune King in the top lane, the sooner this becomes pretty unplayable for Armut. He's going to be trapped under his tower 100% of the time, and pressure is already not super favoring him, so keep our eyes on where the Herald does go. It does not right now mean giving up the Ocean Drake, but does mean that KaKAO is able to power farm a lot more. He opted to take the blue for himself, leaving Bolulu on his own there in the mid lane, is now SuperMassive will start the Ocean.
It means that you give up the Ocean because you gave away what side of the map that you were on, and the expectation will always be that you're probably going to reset after taking Herald. I do agree with you though, and it seems that Shadow's thinking the same thing as you, Dracos, that he's kind of hovering behind Orome on the top tower, and they're looking for potentially setting up a gank here on Armut, hopefully kill him, and then turn that into plates for Orome to try to snowball Sett to continue to have kill pressure on this top lane. But I actually think that while it wasn't the worst Herald take, that SuperMassive still got kind of everything they wanted on the map. They pulled SnowFlower, helped Bolulu continue to pick up waves. You can see he's fallen a little bit behind in CS from the wave that Carzzy denied him when he walked mid, but is otherwise fine. He doesn't have a blue buff, so maybe contesting for mid priority is going to be a little bit harder, but it's still an Azir, so it doesn't really matter that much. I don't know. It really depends on where this Herald lands.
Absolutely does. Of course, early Bramble Vest pickup will mitigate a lot of the healing there coming in. Big ulti now coming down. They're just trying to lock up Kaiser, and they will take him down. That's the combo you talked about at the start of the game, and finally SuperMassive are able to pull it off. One shot, one kill there for Kaiser. Huge
credit to SnowFlower. Great target selection. He picks the one that doesn't have cleanse. Obviously, Kaiser running the teleport there, so actively chose not to go on Carzzy, and like you said, you have the CC chain long enough between Leona's ultimate, her Zenith Blade, as well as her Q that someone's eaten the entire duration of bullet time.
Yeah, to be fair, it's not like one shot, one kill. It's more like
a bazillion
150 shots, one kill. So, maybe not the best economy of bullets, but certainly good economy for League of Legends. He's going to be happy to have that gold. Zeitnot now closer and closer to what would appear to be an Essence Reaver first purchase, just maximizing the amount of spells he can cast out in this lane. As we look back at this one.
Surprise! Flashes right onto him, catches him, chain CCs really beautifully so that Kaiser doesn't really get any sort of reaction time. Good placement of the Misfortune ultimate. Is now top.
Dunked down, but Orome just going to get picked off. Now Humanoid's on the way to the top lane as well, but Bolulu scooping him up and knocking him down, but he scoops him over the Sion. That's going to be one Sleepy Syndra, but they are going to be able to finish it off. No, the body block, it comes in. It's not nearly enough. The Sand Soldiers are on the way in. SuperMassive. That was certainly showing off.
That was also devastating for Mad Lions. We talked about it. Shadow was pathing topside. He was potentially going to look for a gank topside to use the Herald, and now SuperMassive beat him to the punch. Again, read it, find Orome, punish him, and are now hard shoving topside.
And Bambi's Revenge certainly looking good. Right as Orome finishes the way to the Rune King, they find the collapse on the top side. Shadow holding on, but he's running out of time on that Herald. If he doesn't find a lane that they can push out soon, he's not really going to get a good use of it. And already SuperMassive, a dragon in their favor. 4 kills to 1 and almost 20K to the 18K of Mad Lions. This is certainly a commanding early game performance.
And this is why I was kind of sideways on the Herald to begin with. It feels like it ate up a lot of time from Shadow where he wasn't really impacting his lanes. It doesn't help then that his lanes are getting outplayed both top side and bot side. Obviously not a huge Orome fault here, but Kaiser and Carzzy definitely being caught off guard by SnowFlower and Zeitnot. And it just means that Shadow doesn't really have anything to play through here. So that time wasted and invested into taking the Herald doesn't translate. Where, like you're saying, Bambi now has a pretty sizable speed and lead through the jungle, also 2 kills, a lot of CS underneath her, and the Dragon. So I feel like Mad Lions, they've got a small window before the Herald times out. Is it going to time out? He's just going to drop it in mid lane. He's like, eject, get it out of me.
It's like that scene in Alien. Go!
Oh no!
Gonna push into the mid lane, Shadow, plopping down the Rift Trail here. Gonna grab a few plates over to Humanoid. He'll be happy to have that one. It should let him finish Glutens here pretty quickly, as KaKAO has a hard time approaching this. Humanoid still with a lot of individual kill pressure. And here's the thing. We talked about Bambi's revenge here, and KaKAO doing a much better job of impacting the map early game than what we saw from Shadow previously on the opposite side of this matchup. And that's concerning, because Lillia feels like this champion where when she's strong, she's unstoppable. When she's weak, she feels completely useless. But right now, KaKAO is strong. He's got the phase rush, is only going to make him faster, harder to lock down for a lot of these champions. And if he gets that Leandre, he's way ahead of schedule. Not going to be a lot of options, especially for a guy like Orome on the top side, to stop this champion from just rocking up and killing him at any time.
But he's still in Hoover mode. Like, KaKAO is like, he's a Roomba right now. He just wants to vacuum up, because still waiting for that item. The Dragon's going to be spawning in 45.
I'm liking the mixed metaphors here. He's both Bambi and a Hoover. Put that one together, audience.
That's why I want the Photoshops. Tag me at Froskurine. Good luck spelling that. Don't forget the urine. It's very important. Sorry.
You're fine.
I had another cup of coffee. I definitely shouldn't have.
Yeah,
It's just like,
three
no more coffee.
I thought we talked about 3 as the limit, but you're out of control today. And KaKAO might be out of control too, as we were mentioning. Here on the bottom side, though, difficult news for the Mad Lions is that Essence Reaver is completed for Misfortune, but Kaiser is still on bits and pieces of this Trinity Force. And unlike the last time he played this champion, there's no exhaust on the enemy team, so if he does get on the back line, it will be a little bit more effective. But the back line from the enemy team is looking scarier and scarier as Bolulu showed up on the top side, and meanwhile on top lane for Armut, he's getting run down here slowly but surely. You can see that Orome wins this trade, but he has to just keep extending it to come out on top.
It's actually really important for Orome to take hard trades here, because we're setting up for Drake as the fight down here. Really main priority.
The lock up, they're just going to one-tap him to start the fight off, but the double lockdown is there. Shadow trying to move forward. SnowFlower ready to body block. Humanoid on the way in. TP coming in as well. Sion's going to come to the party, but the instant suplex back down, but he throws it right into the backline, and that's not what he wants. He does interrupt the knockup as well. Humanoid, meanwhile, isolated off to the side. He's going to throw down the ultimate, but Bolulu manages to make it out. That's Humanoid dead. That's Mad Lions falling apart as Zeitnot just looks to clean house. So I'm running forward. They're ready to keep this dive going in. He's going to make it out. He's got the Soul Furnace shield coming in as well. Carzzy taking down the double for Zeitnot. It's just too clean. Supermassive 9-1 in kills.
Just smacking him in the face with the stat check there on Misfortune. She does ludicrous amounts of damage, especially right now. And like you said, it's Supermassive that come up on the skirmish and bot side and then snowball that into another Dragon. They're looking for the stack, and KaKAO is 4-0-3 on Bambi.
Immaculate performance. And again, here we see the setup so flawless. Kaiser forced to burn the W early. Once that clone is gone, they know they can hit the real one, and it's just easy.
So look at the teleports. What Orome was trying to do was, in preparation for setup of this fight, although Mad Lions were picked out, is he was making sure that he would have a health advantage if they fought cross-map and decided to teleport in. The issue is that Mad Lions got picked out as the fight started. Orome immediately pulled the trigger and went. Armut actually got to back. He takes a huge chunk of health from the Sett in the top side, backs, full heals, and then teleports into the fight.
And here's the thing that we didn't talk a lot about in draft, because I think as people watching Mad Lions were like, yes, finally Orome got a counter pick on top side. Mad Lions is almost exclusively physical damage. That is 1.5 armor items completed for this Sion. So while it probably felt good for Orome initially to dunk that Sion back down to his team into their waiting arms, they couldn't kill him because that Black Cleaver is not completed. There is not armor penetration yet. And right now, Armut, despite getting beaten down a little bit in the early laning phase, through the help of KaKAO, is now essentially unkillable. Humanoid, though, luckily for him, is the one champion on this team that can burn through that health bar.
I mean, he can more of like chip through.
He can chip away at it slightly more notably.
He's trying to cut down a tree with a butter knife.
Yeah. Everyone else has a spork. Is that where we're at right now?
I think everyone else
scary.
is like a toothpick.
Yeah, and this is difficult because finally, like, to give Orome the counter pick, Orome seems comfortable in lane, but then KaKAO puts attention topside on a tank that we normally expect to be completely on an island, and he's behind again. And Armut, despite taking the blind pick, despite getting the counter pick, is once again in a way better position to impact his team. And now he's abandoned finishing the Thornmail and instead is going straight Titanic. And it's going to get very hard to be Humanoid or Carzzy in these fights against the Titanic Sion.
And then, meanwhile, while all of this is happening, that big front line that you're talking about, Draco's just getting even more meatier and beefy. Don't combine those words, that sounds wrong. Bolulu, on the opposite side, is now also in Hoover mood. So we have Hoover mood. We have two farming people in the Lillia and the Azir, and they're just soaking up all of this gold, all of this experience, and being that late game insurance policy, while Misfortune and Sion can beat on Mad Lions right now.
Yeah.
So side lane assignment's not looking great.
Ooh. Carzzy forced to flash out of that one. You can see why they did prioritize taking him down earlier on. He can't cleanse away, but now the Herald going to be used mid lane. Zeitnot going to be there to scoop up some of this gold with KaKAO.
And this is the thing, the side lane assignments, Mad Lions can't match now because they don't have kill pressure on the Sion, which means that they get shoved into the towers. Look at Humanoid, look at Orome, they're by their towers, which means that numbers advantage for SuperMassive to play off the Herald, to play off the mid wave, and to snowball this into two mid towers.
Bolulu stepping forward. We wondered why they'd match double AP, but you can see Bolulu complete confidence there. Goes for the play and will whip it. And now the Herald gets the third charge. The Azir tower set up as well, that sun disc.
Orome, run!
Safely.
They can collapse onto Orome. You see the pings going down. Here comes Bambi, here comes Leona. Orome's like...
Yeah, and credit to SuperMassive. They adjusted their draft coming into game 3. They got blue side one more time, and now Mad Lions have done nothing this game. This has been complete and total dominance. Now, they had stronger early lane setups. It felt like Orome was doing fine, but outside of that, we've got duo kills, 2v2 on the bottom side. Mad Lions doesn't feel like they've really been able to get a single play down in their favor ever since we saw that TP topside where Humanoid came in a little too late and ended up getting cleaned up by Bolulu.
And since now, SuperMassive full control, cruise control now. So let's take stock of the map. Dragon is spawning in 1 minute. That means, as where Mad Lions are, the mid wave is going to be very important. You'll hear us talk about it all the time. So I expect that SuperMassive will send 3 people, Azir, Leona, and Misfortune, to hard shove mid, and then to move into the Drake. Checking summoner spells, Humanoid's Flash will just come back up, so they should be okay for this next team fight, but across the board in itemization, that is scary. Look at Misfortune's items. That is the maximum damage build for the AD carry. The Essence Reaver into the Infinity Edge. Reminder, her ultimate can crit. So if you roll that unlucky into a Dragon Pit, the Coliseum, if you will, that will be spawning in 29 seconds, will be the 3rd dragon, setting up SuperMassive for a soul.
Yeah.
That's big yikes.
And it's difficult, too, because Sett is itemizing for side lane presence, right? So he's not going to be the beefy front line that you want to protect your back line. Maybe Wukong can be used a bit more to peel, but I'm worried for Humanoid because this is going to be a difficult one. The knock-up will connect on the Carzzy, though. Armut just running forward. Bolulu on the backside. They're going to grab this one quite easily. Zeitnot now on a rampage as he gets the kill. And that means KaKAO can just start this dragon. No one else really needs to come because Mad Lions cannot contest.
The only option that Mad Lions had was to try to trade something. Either you find a pick, which is Carzzy that ends up getting picked, or you try to trade cross-map, which is what Humanoid was setting up for on this topside tower. Now, they do find the Sion, but as you can see, it takes a long time.
Burn 2 flashes. He charges the Q in the throne. He can probably try to turn this for a
doesn't have ult.
If he uses ult, but he doesn't have it. Good catch. So Shadow will grab that kill. And that'll be good, but definitely not worth the Dragon trade. So while Mad Lions certainly are now striking back, it is SuperMassive who continue to come out on top in this game. 4 towers to 0. I'm just blown away at the turnaround between Game 2 now and Game 3. SuperMassive obviously had some solid moves in Game 2, but this is just a completely different level of performance.
And obviously, when you look across the scoreboard, names that will be standing out to you and names that we've talked about are, like Armut up into the top side. The fact that KaKAO is being a huge benefactor of picking up all of these kills. Misfortune Zeitnot also now massive 4-0 and 2. But I do want to give a shout out to the Azir pick and Bolulu in specific because his ability to constantly have pressure on his waves and his resets about how he's always moving around and getting Mad Lions to react to the pressure points that he's created on the map has allowed SuperMassive to get to these setup and these plays first. And Mad Lions are just a step behind them and are getting punished.
Oh, that's a sleepy Sett. Kick things off. KaKAO just threatening with the ultimate there. trying to create a bit more space for his team to push in the mid lane. Mad Lions don't have great flank options at the moment. They can try to wrap around here, but they're just pushing in. They're looking to break this inhib, and Mad Lions, they're split on this decision. There's enough of a creep wave here that they can just burn this tower down. Zeitnot stepping forward. Bad news for him is that the caster mages are a little bit out of range, but he's still going to grab it uncontested as Mad Lions are kind of caught sleeping.
We're going to see some desperation from Mad Lions here. They're going to start throwing Hail Marys again like they did in game number 1. There are teleports on both Kaiser, Humanoid, and Orome, so there's potential there, but they don't have the vision. There's no deep wards for them to get access to, so great vision control from SuperMassive to even allow them to take that mid lane inhib, push so far up without being punished. Mad Lions are spinning. They got to find some way to grab hold of SuperMassive and force a fight, find an unfair advantage, get those flanks, but they are just getting steamrolled in game number 3.
Yeah, and a lot of the things that we saw in game number 2 just have not been there for them. We saw Shadow much more comfortable as jungle champion. Don't get me wrong, the Graves has been solid, but the other big piece of that puzzle was Humanoid showing up and pushing out his lanes and winning out. And Orome, well, he was set up for success in the laning phase. SuperMassive immediately shut him down, and he's right back into the position that he has been in so many times this tournament, playing from a deficit, knowing that he doesn't have kill pressure on that Sion, because it's not a Titanic, it's a Sterix coming through, and that is still a massive spike, but there is no way without, I don't know, a minute and a half that this Sett is going to be able to burn through that Sion's health bar.
Like, don't get me wrong, Orome's probably just thinking, you know, focusing on the game, but the facial expression just looks like damn, what am I supposed to do here?
I mean, on the opposite side, too, you see this, what I would describe as a cocky grin from Mr. Pearman himself. Feeling confident as Carzzy is once again going to be in trouble here, but the Sion out now moving forward. Armut with a big knock-up, but it will get interrupted. Humanoid going to burn the scatter of the week. Now it's Kaiser moving into the entire team, trying to move his way into the backside. Wukong getting some damage down, but Zeitnot flashing out to safety. Kaiser will get eliminated, and now SuperMassive can refocus their efforts. They're moving into the entire team. SnowFlower still alive. The ult going through as well. Zeitnot killing everybody. Orome with the dunk down, but it's not what you need. Sett going to find 2 back. Orome, a valiant effort, but not nearly enough. SuperMassive again win a fight. 4 for 2.
It is a slaughter, but SuperMassive are not going to immediately turn on the Baron. Obviously, Shadow's still alive, showing some patience and control that maybe they haven't shown in the first 2 games when it comes to that objective.
But he doesn't have sight in that bush, and this is going to be difficult. Luckily, Phase Rush is going to take
him
out
the TP.
To safety, but there's a TP in the mid lane, and he's been here before. Oh no, they love killing Shadow. Going to chase him down. Bolulu now on a rampage. That's a staggered death timer for the jungler, and that means priority access to this pit for SuperMassive.
Yep, so they found the jungler. Like you said, Shadow didn't have vision of that. He was just making sure, checking it, because again, he's been told that SuperMassive will go to Baron at every single turn here. But this time, they didn't. They learned, again, Academy Award goes to them. They faked it. He walked right into the trap. Good TP from Bolulu. Sets up a free Baron for SuperMassive. It has been total domination for this entire game.
Absolutely has. And we look back at this play, and the Sion, again, doesn't get the prettiest scoreline in this game, but the impact is massive, burning so many cooldowns early on. As we see this, Kaiser wants to shut down the backline, wants to get something done here, can't quite finish Zeitnot as he still has the flash up and available. And despite Zeitnot's low health bar, he and SnowFlower still find a way to lock down and take out Humanoid. Orome is a bit more done as he finds the double on the back end of that showstopper, but just can't get through the Azir and the Sion at the end of the day.
And that's the only silver lining there for Mad Lions fans. It's the fact that Orome you know, elbow dropped on top of SnowFlower there and managed to pick up a kill. As we're now looking at the Soul. Armut going in.
Sidestep from Humanoid, but he has to move back into enemy territory to do so. Eyes on KaKAO and the ultimate. Where's the sleep going to go? Swirl Seed. They do manage to burn the Sterix.
Look at the waves, mid and top lane. Mad Lions are there between a rock and a hard place, and frankly, SuperMassive can just be patient here.
There's no real right choice at this stage. There are degrees of wrong for Mad Lions at this point. This is the situation they found themselves, backed into a wall by the side of SuperMassive. Even if they get this Drake, they're likely to give up an inhibitor for it or a top lane. TP's available for Armut if he wants to go up and just focus on the objectives instead. Humanoid trying to create some space, but burning through a lot of cooldowns here.
Look at Kaiser.
TP now coming in. Kaiser hoping to find access to the backside, but immediately SuperMassive pulled the trigger because they know it's going to be a few seconds till Wukong gets there, but Kaiser on the backside, he's pushed back. Azir says, not today, my backline will be safe. Orome says, how about a different take? Moves in, breaks him down. That's going to be 2 picked up by Shadow. 3 members left. KaKAO now running for the hills, and Mad Lions, they're holding on for now, but the minions are pushing into the base. Armut, buy a bit more time. Bolulu taken out there, managed to get that one, but someone could TP into the base. Mad Lions need to get out as quickly as they can. They are going to be giving up. Thank you, Observer, for the mouse over. Towers now falling in the base. They give up an inhibitor, but they hold on. They stop the soul, and they find a fight in their favor.
Literally by the skin of their teeth. We talked about all the multiple teleports that Mad Lions had, how they would have to find the flank, and it's Kaiser, our mid-split MVP in the LEC, that manages to save the game for now for the Mad Lions. He gets the teleport, he gets right into the back line, and it looks really scary because Carzzy is popped right at the immediate start of that fight. Bolulu comes back, resets the fight with massive damage, but Orome, then the hero on top of Kaiser's initial damage, gets into the back line, massive facebreaker, massive DPS, and they manage to collapse around the Mountain Dragon and deny the soul from SuperMassive.
4,500 damage. You want to know why that man hits like a truck? It's because Armut has built so much freaking health. That ult scales off the target's bonus health. So there's a world where Mad Lions can take all those extra stats that Armut has been building up to make himself unkillable and use them to kill that supermassive backline. You saw it there in that fight. Now Mad Lions need to look to rinse and repeat. That said, still a monumental difference between these two teams, but the negative 500 Baron power play tells you everything you need to know about the last few minutes for SuperMassive.
Yeah, they tried instead of using the Baron and forcing around. The thing is it is a fair criticism of SuperMassive that they didn't need to force that hard on the soul. I understand why they did. They felt very confident, and they were outplayed with the ward position and a clever teleport, but they could have also used the Baron to contest the mid and top wave, tried to clear out the inhibs, and then try to play for the soul.
It will get more difficult for SuperMassive to play these fights, especially as Last Whispers start to come in, both Carzzy and Shadow finding them for themselves, but also difficult to approach these towers as Zeitnot continuing to walk forward. Kaiser again looking for the flank. The Sand Soldiers are going to spot him out and just be able to clear out a little bit of vision, but SuperMassive really just taking control of the top side. About 3 minutes, 2 minutes now until that Baron spawns. If they have total vision control, it's going to be incredibly difficult for Mad Lions to face check into that.
Just gonna ask ping our stats to see if we can get an update on how many souls Carzzy has.
Good question. Additionally, the Magi's purchase for Bolulu is now gone. He can afford a void staff. Debating his options, I think at this point makes sense.
He was an avid reader no more.
Yeah. Books.
Ooh.
Get a Kindle. KaKAO needs to get out. It looks like he's just going to get taken down here. The sleep can now come out, but Orome is not having it. This man is mad. He'll burn the ultimate, and that's the jungler gone, and that's pretty big. Also,
a massive shutdown on Orome. We've already been seeing the damage that he's done. Look at KaKAO, just like head in hands. Oh no, it's a disaster. Orome now will get to spend some much needed gold. He's going to continue to hit like a truck. He does get access into that back line, so I think Bolulu needs to be a bit more conservative on how quickly he opens up with the Emperor's Divide, which he's got a lot of responsibility because there was a lot of people blitzing back into his backline. He's got a Wukong flying at him, he's got a Orome landing onto him, but last time he immediately burnt it to force the Wukong off. That was the right play, and then got hit by Orome. It's really about him and what his execution is going to be with his cooldowns of how they're going to play out these late game fights.
Always going to be difficult too because of the Sett being unstoppable during that ult, but
gotta wait for him to land.
Gotta wait for him to land, which is difficult because when he lands, he does the damage. So it's hard. It's hard to find the right opportunity. It's hard to find the right timing. It'll only get more difficult, especially as Mad Lions scale up. Now, as we said, very AD-heavy composition, but a lot of the pen items are now coming through. Double Black Cleaver, double Last Whisper at this point. Deathstance coming in for Kaiser to make him a little bit tankier. And additionally, 80 stacks there for the Senna. So not quite at the 100 break point. That's always where she feels especially OP, but 80 is a damn fine number for support Senna.
Thank you, stats. Everyone clap for them. Thank you.
Clap, clap, clap. Additionally, though, QSS coming out for Zeitnot. The MR is going to feel very nice, as well as the ability to mitigate some of the CC that can come through the snare, especially for Carzzy, is what he has to keep his eyes on.
So here we go. Soul is up again in 46 seconds. You hear us talk about it, we're going to talk about it again. It's the mid-wave priority. What is SuperMassive doing? They're getting mid-lane push first. Look at all of the wards that Mad Lions have already placed into that pit. They want to fight, they've got plenty of options, they've got plenty of teleports. Kaiser's TP just about to come back up. Humanoid and Orome also have theirs. Can he get into the back line again to disrupt this fight, or will SuperMassive be able to fight front to back with a very powerful Azir?
Big stakes in this game as well. Moving up to match point is what is at stake here. 5K gold advantage for SuperMassive. Got the beefy front line that they need. KaKAO getting stronger and stronger, starting to itemize towards tank, which is going to make this a big nightmare for him.
I actually wish that SuperMassive would just put their AD carry on the Drake and use the rest of their team to zone away. I think Zeitnot actually should just be turning towards it while Armut and SnowFlower just stand in front and slow and delay. But they're going for the fight.
Looking for it. That's going to be the double sleep. Keep your eyes on Zeitnot's ult. The knockup's going to come in. That's massive damage from the Misfortune. Triple AD items coming through, but now it's KaKAO on the backside. The suplex back down. Orome manages to escape, but Kaiser into the backside trying to get something done. It's not nearly enough. SuperMassive simply too strong. KaKAO trying to find his angle, trying to find his way under the back line. Carzzy slowly but surely burning, and he's going to get pranced right down. KaKAO going to find it. Watch out. Eep doesn't quite connect, but it does not matter because SuperMassive are barreling down mid lane and are ready to take us to match point.
Slowed a little bit, but in the end, the train does run over Mad Lions. They do not need the soul to close out this game. They can pick the options that they want, but I think it's going to be the end here as SuperMassive will move to match point.
Domination from start to finish for SuperMassive, and for KaKAO, he says, anything you can do, I can do better. Taking the Lillia into Graves and showing how it's done. 6, 1, and 10 from KaKAO. Immaculate masterclasses. He's going to stat pad just a little bit more as SuperMassive do take us to match point. 2-1 up.
No flanks that time around on the final team fight to end it. SuperMassive got the front-to-back fight. They killed Orome right at the start of the fight. Looked like he was going to be able to escape with the ultimate backwards, but did fall down.
And we are on the precipice of making history here. Because, yes, the TCL has made it to groups before, group plans, but they did it by beating the CB Law. They have never, ever done it by beating a major region. More importantly, major region, or EU rather, has never fallen out in play-ins. It's the first year we've had a 4 seed immediately, but you know that this is not going to be an exciting cross to bear for future international tournaments.